Hello and aloha to everybody in the planet Earth. My name is Abbas Tamori. I've taken the project to explain this eternal Mathnavi of Baha'u'llah, 318 lines altogether. We're reaching to the last 12 lines. I'm explaining this 6. As I mentioned before, these last 12 lines, especially as it goes towards the end, it's an epilogue and it becomes very personal. Baha'u'llah becomes very personal. He shows sadness and bereavement and everything that we go through. It seems there is no happiness in this world for no one, including God. Simply because if we become happy with the material means, we might get detracted from the actual goal, from the actual event that is everyday happening. You could say, I'm living every day. I say after the age 50, I'm dying every day. I'm getting closer every day to the last day. Believe me, absolutely, there is no notion of existence about this life and human being. We have willpower, we have desires that just simply cannot be fulfilled in this body. It doesn't matter how much attachment and how much money and how much wealth gives it to it. Simply the body cannot perform the will of the soul. Therefore, the body becomes its cage because it cannot fly. So let's read these things here. I'll try to translate it. Baha'u'llah here talks about 2 names that I will explain as I go through it. So first it says, گر بود پیکی رود سوی عراق. گر, if, بود was پیکی, a messenger, a harbinger. رود, to go, سوی, towards Iraq, our Iraq. If there was a messenger to go to Iraq, if there was a messenger to go to Iraq, that is the translation. This Iraq, which in Arabic really is Iraq, as a very special place in the Arabic land. This is the place of the 2 cities of Kerbela and Najaf. Najaf is the city where the body of the successors of Muhammad, the Prophet of Islam, Imam Ali, lies there. And Kerbela is where the event of the martyrdom of Imam Hussein happened, where 72 of his people, the grandson of Muhammad, died in the hand of Arabs, in the hand of Muslims, because the regime advertised that he's not even an Arab, he's an outsider, and they tried to completely obliterate him, and he died for that cause of God that day. And in Quran, Kerbela, or Iraq essentially, is referred to as Darus Salam, means the house of peace. And it was the plan of God originally that everything will happen in Iraq as far as the Baha'u'llah's declarations and event. But as you know, the declaration of Baha'u'llah, it happened in Iraq, in the Garden of Ridwan, but the Ottoman Emperor forced Baha'u'llah. Baha'u'llah never liked to leave Iraq. He always liked to go to city of Kerbela, where the shrine of Imam Hussein was there. And so they forced him to leave. By the force of the government, he went, and when he goes to Istanbul, the ambassador of Iran approached Baha'u'llah that if you like to see the king, you have to ask me, that I will go to the foreign ministry, and then foreign ministry asked the king for a visit. Baha'u'llah says, I have not come to visit any king. But if he likes to see us, he can come. The notion was for these people, they're so big to see the king, they didn't know Baha'u'llah had no interest even to go to Istanbul or to go to where it was. So the event of God is like a back burner, the Holy Land. Everything in Holy Land was supposed to happen in Iraq, in Baghdad, in Iraq, and it didn't. And it was a back burner that it went to Israel. And if you look between the Israel and Iraq, there are two characters. They died. Very amazing character. Jesus Christ and Imam Hussein. Hussein, which in Bible is called as Hosanna, it is him that is being called, the Holy Spirit, Hosanna, Hussein. So between the two, from Iraq, it goes back there. This is why Baha'u'llah, when he was in Istanbul, in Turkey, he was actually feeling homesick for Iraq, and he wanted to go. He says that if there was a messenger goes towards the Iraq to explain the pain of separation and bereavement, Shar, explain, guyad, tell, dard, the pain, of, darde, the pain of hijran, separation, O means and, faraq, separation, bereavement. So, if there was a messenger to go to Iraq to explain the pain of the separation and bereavement. So I talked to separation from God before is the lack of quality and attributes of God within us. But surely there's a human part to us that feels separation from the people that we love. Definitely when somebody dies that we love, we feel that separation. And that's a human thing, and it's welcomed in the Baha'i faith as well. Baha'u'llah had that separation feeling all the time. When he was in Holy Land, in Akka, Abdu'l-Baha was very busy to do the affairs of the faith. Often he would go from Akka to Haifa, about 1 hour. And he had a son at that time. His name was Hussein Effendi, a small young son that died later on. And Baha'u'llah used to play with this grandson of his, and he says, this grandson telling me, where is my father? But Baha'u'llah couldn't directly say to Abdu'l-Baha if he could come. He knew that he is busy, but he felt the separation from Abdu'l-Baha all the time. And when his son, the younger brother of Abdu'l-Baha, dies, falls from the ceiling, the hole in the ceiling, he falls, and the lumber cut entirely his chest and his heart. Baha'u'llah actually cried. So this manifestation of God, although it's manifestation of God, is not the obliterations of the human part of him. Just like we are human, we are not cutting and killing the animal side in us. So as the prophet of God, because they're manifestation of God, that does not cut short their human aspect of life. And this is where Baha'u'llah explains his separation from Iraq for so many reasons that he has, and who knows what they are. But definitely one of them, it was, you could see in his lifetime, he had such an attachment to Kerbela, the shrine of Hussein. Okay. The second line he says, so if he goes and explains this bereavement and separation and says that consumed the soul of the enthusiast from your separation. Kaz, that from. Faraqat, your separation. Jan, soul. Jane, actually it has to have an E here. Jane. Let's do this. So that from your separation, Jane, the soul of Mushtaqan, min enthusiast. the exuberant. Mushtaq means very enthusiastic, willing, wanting. Mushtaqan is the plural of the enthusiast. Besukh means consumed, burned away. So he says that, so if this messenger goes and explains that from the consumed the soul of the enthusiasts from your separation. He's referring to the city. تیر هجرت سینه شاهان بدوخت. The arrow, تیر, the arrow of the separation, your bereavement, struck the chest of the king. Tir means arrow, the dart. Tire means the dart of. Hejr, separation. Te means pronoun to, you. So the dart of your separation, sine means the chest. Sine of Shahan, the kings, beducht, struck. And now, from this city that we were talking of, Iraq, of Kerbela, of course the Baha'u'llah's notion is not just physical, it is definitely a spiritual. He's talking a spiritual city, where the declaration take place, And then he says something very amazing here again. There was a statement of Baha'u'llah's statement of humbleness and humility. You ever heard of it? It says in the 7 valleys or 4 valleys, I don't remember right now. He says, I find myself as utter nothing when I compare myself to the servant of God. And here is in that line, he says, در میان ما و تو ای شهر جان. Shahr means city. Shahrajan means the city of soul. It is reference to those cities of love, because the 7 valleys is called also 7 cities of love. So this Shahrajan means the city of love, city of soul, spiritual city. He's talking those cities, those valleys. Dar mian in between, dar in mian in between, ma, us, o and you, to, A-O, Shahrajan, city of soul. Between us and you, O city of soul, 100,000 قاف باشد در میان. 100,000 of the mount of Qaf is in between. 100,000 thousands. Qaf is one of the letters in the Persian, but it's an acronym. Qaf stands for a mountain of Qaf. I explained this before, that the Sufis, they believed there is a mountain called the mountain of Qaf, where Simorg, the king of the birds, lives there. And the birds, they try to go to this mountain of Qaf. So where is Qaf? There's a lot of reference in the Baha'i faith. This is a reference to the Sufis, that they're talking of Qaf. Qaf, Shoghi Effendi refers to it as the mountains in Kafkaz. Kafkaz in English means Caucasia. It's a beautiful mountain. The Mount Ararat and all those is a part of the Caucasian mountain. And they were building, in the other side of the Caspian Sea, the temple, the Baha'i temple. And Shoghi Effendi in his writing refers to that as the Mount of Qaf, He clearly says, Kafkaz, the mountain Qaf. But this Qaf definitely is no reference to any mountain that is called Qaf. It is just the mountain where the Simorg or the griffin lives. Truly, in my opinion, Qaf is the last letter of Ishq. E, She, Qe. Ghe is the last letter of Ishq. What Ishq means? Love. Qaf is the last part of the love. As you enter into the love, And then when you reach to the end of the love, that will be the qaf of love. Okay? So it says, to that city where Griffin lives, where the king of bird lives, it says, between us and you, O city of soul, 100,000 of the mountain of Qaf is in between. So that means Baha'u'llah says, I haven't reached that city. Before I get to that city, I have to pass many, many mountains before I get there. It's a statement of humbleness and humility. Otherwise, we don't know even who he is really. They come in the form of a man, but what's in there and what's installed in that soul and body, I challenge the entire humanity ever since their inception and the time that they will never end. They will not understand it. They cannot know it. If an animal can understand the human being, a human is able to understand the manifestation of God. Although he sees all its love and beauty and all its tenderness, but how does it get there and what he is? It remains a mystery beyond our ability. This is it. No one can claim to know it. When a person becomes infallible, it's outside of time and matter, outside of existence as you know it. It is God himself manifesting there, and we don't know how it works. It's just like the dog and the ships, they see the shepherd, and they see all of it. They see this shepherd is saving them from the wolves and feeding them and all that, but they don't know why he does it and how he does it, because ships with a shippish mind cannot understand the shepherd. This is why Jesus says, I am the shepherd. It is not a statement of insulting people. It is just simply saying that I'm different from you. Okay? However, there is a way to get there. We can become a photocopy of a picture. We can manifest Baha'u'llah in a TV, you know. But we shall not become him or to understand him. It's just there's no way out. Shobi Effendi says there's always a dross, D-R-O-S-S, a rust between us. We just cannot get there. It's always something with us that we cannot get. But nevertheless, Baha'u'llah says, between us and you, O city of soul, there lies 100,000 of the mounts of Qaf. Okay. So he says, نیست پیچی جز که آه پرشرر. I have translated this. There is no messenger except for the scintillant sigh, unless the morning breeze harbingers the news. Scintillant, you know, sighs. Neist, there isn't. Peiki, harbinger. Juz, except, ke, that. Sigh. He means of. Sigh. Porsharar, scintillant. Sparkling. There's no harbinger except for the scintillant sigh. Unless the wind of the morning harbingers the news. Ya or ravad, to go, bade, the wind of Sabah, morning, Goya tells, khabar, news. What news? What khabar? You see. دست از نخلش بسی کوتاه ماند. The hand fell short. The hand fell short. very much from its spiritual tree. Dast, hand, as from. Nakhl means tree. Literally, it's a date. The tree, the date tree is called nakh. But nakhl means, a spiritual tree, a spiritual soul, Dast as nachlash, basi, very. Kutah, short, mand, remain. The hand fell short from reaching its spiritual tree. Jan ze hijrash barha as cheshm rand. Jan, the soul, from hijrash, separation, barha, oceans, round, cried, from, as, I. It says the soul cried oceans from the separation. From his separation, the I cried oceans, it says. ای صبا از پیش جانان یک زمان. O wind, O Saba means wind, morning wind. As from پیش, presence, Janan, the beloved, the God, یک زمان, sometimes. He says, O wind, sometimes from the presence of the beloved. خوش بران تا کوی آن زوراییان. Below, it says, O wind, below towards that city of Zora. Kuya means the place, the zone, the area, the city. Zorayan. Zora is the name. Zorayan means the people of Zora. Zora in here is a reference to another name of Iraq, Baghdad. The city of Baghdad, and a place in the city of Baghdad is written in dictionary, that it is called Zora. So it says, O wind, from the presence of the beloved sometimes blow towards that city of Zora, the people of Zora. So Zora is the place that Baha'u'llah in Iraq and Baghdad revealed a lot of tablets. One of the very strange things that Baha'u'llah has done, never heard of it in any faith, in any religion, but everything is unique with the Baha'i faith. The secretary of Baha'u'llah reveals that and says that, and it is recorded in God Passes By Shobi Effendi. Not just one time, but several times. Baha'u'llah would throw his own writing, even with his own hand, right into the river of Euphrates. And this secretary says that I couldn't do it. And Baha'u'llah saw that I may not be able to do it. He said, throw it away. People of this time are not ready for it. Throw it away. And it says, majority of the writing of Baha'u'llah at those days, he just threw them in the river. He didn't want to. They say there is another poetry the same like this in Persian, in Arabic, that was basically a book. He just threw all of it right down. So, he just didn't want it, Baha'u'llah. I have to mention, I have seen in this Mathnavi, there are few lines, couple of lines or different versions of it, that even Abdu'l-Baha, who came after Baha'u'llah, is referring in those lines that they have a different wordings, just a couple of places. But this is the version, I think it is the right one. Those ones, there was something that he changed, a couple of words. Baha'u'llah did change some of the words. So there you have it. Baha'u'llah here is becoming personal. He's talking of his time in Iraq and how he wanted those things to be, but it didn't. There are few things happened to Baha'u'llah's against his will. He wanted Abdu'l-Baha to marry his stepbrother's daughter. But one of the sisters of Baha'u'llah, a very shrewd, satanic woman she was, she would not interfere with this. And finally Abdu'l-Baha could not marry that lady and had to marry somebody else from Islam. Perhaps that is the reason why he did not have sons, but it went against the will of Baha'u'llah. And one of these things that Baha'u'llah wanted to be in Iraq, because that is where Imam Hussein died. Everything had to start there. But no, it went to Holy Land where Jesus was. So there are plans of God that God has back burners. For example, it says the promised one is many places. It says is the son, is the descendant of Imam Hussein. But there are some tradition that he says from Imam Hassan, from his brother, which is referred to Quddus, the second in line after the Bab. Bab is the descendant of Imam Hussein. Quddus is the descendant of Imam Hassan. If for some reason Bab would die or something would do, because mankind has the willpower and God has given that willpower to them, he had a back burner to have Quddus in place, you see. So there are always these things happens in this material life that God has to arrange and rearrange. It's very common. In Islam it's happened many times. The sixth Imam was appointed Ismail, which we have the Ishmaelis as the Imam, but Ishmael was not exactly who was expecting, and he was changed and he went to his younger brother Moses. So the seventh Imam of the Shiites is Moses, but it was supposed to be Ismail or Ishmael. But it didn't happen, it changed. These changes do occur in this world only because God is allowing mankind to play God, to do what he wants to do, to have his willpower. He has warning him by the consequences of what he does, and he also brings him books so he stays in the highway. But nevertheless, mankind do what he wants. And that causes sadness and manifestation of God many times. So, is there anything else that I'm thinking to talk about here? Not really, except, to contemplate what are these lines really means. Is Baha'u'llah always philosophical, teacher, wants to explain, or sometimes becomes personal? And he talks about his own heart, about his own desires, and the shortcomings, and his stress, and his distress. It will become worse. And the next 6 lines that I'm having is very sorrowful and sad, which we will see after. For now, God bless you. Today actually is, let me see, for the record, it's Thursday, and it's 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Today is Thursday the 7th, on 6 o'clock in the afternoon, that I'm concluding this video. And there's one more to go after. God bless you.